How's it going, everyone? Vince here with the On to the Next podcast. This is episode 20, and I have my guy, Tim Headache Gittins, on. I can't wait for you guys to listen to this one. He has an amazing journey. This is On to the Next.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my cloth, they tugging it.
Today, I have on Headache 13. That's your brand, right? And Tim Gittins is the man's name. Man, I'm so happy to have you on. And it's funny, I feel like we've had this conversation already, but we're going to do this again because we had some technical difficulties. But one thing about you, man, I love hearing your background, your story, because it's just one of those that's pretty captivating to me. So, Tim, what's up, man?
What's up, Vince? Always a pleasure. I'll talk to you for days. It's just fun having a conversation.
Yeah, definitely, man. Um, well, I'm going to tell everybody how I know you. We happened to go to an amazing church called No Walls together, and kind of met mutually there. And I've had the privilege of doing worship with your wife, Mo Worship, and that's been amazing. And just I've had time to be able to talk to you, kind of get to know you and who you are. For one, the most important man of God, which is that's one thing that's as a father, as a husband, as a businessman, as anything, right? It's probably one of the most important things.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, as so being just a man of God is just one of the most important things. How have you like implemented that into your life as you've accepted God in your life?
Um, I think it's for anybody in a journey. It's super hard, but I think I hit rock bottom and I was missing something when I was going through my tribulations and turmoil stuff like that. And I was like, dang, it's just something that I was in church with my sister, and it was like I really need something that's going to change the trajectory of what's going on in my life right now. And then as I grew and like the comfortability of with God and the relationship allowed me to be, walk with one. So I started enjoying that part of the peace. And as that peace came, come with its trials, but it was just such a different, you walk in a room, your presence is different, everything about you is different. Meeting real men of God allowed me to have a relationship with God because the conversation was different,
Yeah.
So it's an all around thing. So it allows you to be who you are and allows you not to have to pretend. And I'm not a pretender, so I don't go around doing that. I'm a straight shooter, so I like that part of it and everything about it. And I told me and my wife talk about it all the time. Like I'm still a baby in God, trying to figure out where He want me to be and how He want me to be. So and that's some of the hard stuff.
Yeah, it definitely is because I guess the biggest factor of it is like when you accept God, you kind of figure out like how how you really move about your life before and after, and how that looks, and how the convictions are, right? Because that's the biggest thing, is like you could sense those convictions from God like right away after you've accepted Him in your life. So that's probably the biggest thing, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And then you see everything. Like you hear everything, you see everything, you see all the things that you not supposed to do, and you be like, oh, that's the old me. Right. And so it's such a different dynamic when you accept that relationship. And but a lot of times it's almost, and not to make it any small, it's almost like having a big brother watching you, and you know you can't do anything wrong because he's gonna get on you in his own
Yeah.
way. And that's how I kind of look at it. Like he's like, he sees and hear everything. So you're not fooling nobody but yourself, because he already knows. He knows your steps and the choices you're gonna make before you know, because you his child. So that's some of the things that I've been trying to learn how to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you speak of the old you, and so I wanna kinda get to that because, it's hilarious because I actually wore this hat, I had my buddies on, and he's so, like, against New York Yankees, he's like, "Man, you gotta get that whack hat off." But the reason why I have it because, I'm from Colorado, and before we had the Colorado Rockies, that's like all we seen was New York Yankees on the TV. So my grandpa was a New York Yankees fan, and so it was kind of like they're kind of like my first love for baseball, you know. But I still love my Colorado Rockies. But I wore this special tonight because this is the city where you come from, and
Yes, sir.
yeah, and if there's a lot of yeah, there's people out there who don't know who you are, but there is a lot of people who know who you are because, I mentioned the name Headache, and we're gonna get to that point, but, um, you you have a love for basketball that, like, I mean, there's a in the sense of, like, of this world, there's a handful of people who have a love for basketball like you, and I and it's not like in sense a handful, but if you look at as a world as a total of world in total, I mean, the appreciation for it and everything, and that started at a young age for you, even from your father, right?
Yeah, yes, sir. So it's like I was like 10, 9 when I really started playing. But tell your boy I said 27. We have 27 things. Don't be mad. Like don't so, tell him 27. I grew up the block from Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium. So don't be mad at us. We just win. We so good. We made the Yankee symbol part of your clothing outfit of all day. Everybody wanted Yankee fitted.
Everybody.
Even Jay-Z had to put in a song. Now the most sold hat. But nah, 100%. I started playing when I was young, and I didn't. And the crazy part about it, I didn't take to it right away. Um, because my dad played the Globetrotter, and he was like always coaching, trying to force it. And I was like, whenever he came around, I didn't want to do it. I'm like, ah, nah, here he come again. I'm not gonna do it. So I just play pickup with my friends, and then he come in the park, I'll sit down, just to hide. And I was pretty good. And then just that part of it. And then when I lost him at an early age, I was like, I'm gonna start playing. That was one of the things that my relationship with it. And so I started playing more, and then really getting involved in it, and I just fell in love with the game of it. But also too, it was the one connection I had with my dad. So it was like, okay, this is when I get to talk to him through my game. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess that's a cool way to look at it as you that was your connection because it's funny how that works, right? You were like, man, I don't want to be doing what my dad's doing when he's there, but then you're like, man, I know I could be good at this game, and my dad appreciated the game so much, and you wanted to carry that legacy of what he already started, initiated. And he played with some big dudes, right?
Yeah, yeah, he did. He played with Bruce Tatum and all some of the helicopter Jones. Um, I can't think of Sweet Lou. I actually saw Sweet Lou recently, like when we came to Orlando. It was good to see him, and he saw me, and I told him who I was. He was like, "Oh my God!" Like he's up there. So just to see them guys and what my dad did, and he helped a lot of guys back in the day in New York. They call it the battlegrounds. They used to play a whole bunch of superstars play. Joe B, Jelly Bean Giants come out and play. Kareem Jabbar's come play. And crazy about it, part of what I was when I was at Knicks camp, he actually Kendrick Ball actually asked me about what they still doing the battleground pickup run on Sunday with the old school, and I was like, "What? You remember that?" And it was like, that was cool. That was cool
Yeah.
to hear Max that.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Just having that connection and um, what it meant to the game for him. You carry on. You're just a youngster, like, and so it, from that point on, do you feel like there was mentorship in your life, or were you like, man, it's just I feel like it's just me and my boys at that point? Because you told me that like you weren't playing really organized ball until later on, right?
Yeah. Um, yeah, for me it was trying to figure out how to play. And then a guy named Herb Williams, 7-footer, played all overseas. I was playing in the called Police Athletic League in the park in the summertime because I couldn't really go that much. My arm wouldn't let me go nowhere. So I go in the park and play with the PAL Athletic League tops and all that they had. And then I started playing basketball. And they have a 3-on-3 tournament every year that they do with play each park that has the lead. You go in and you go play in one spot. And he had to come out. It was the funniest thing. He's 7 foot dude had to come basically beg my aunt to let me go play with them in Central Park downtown. And that was kind of my first introduction of a form of regulation basketball, but it was just basically 3-on-3 with that. And we actually won it. And that was kind of my introduction. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like this. And can I have some more? May I have another, sir? And so, that to me, then I started playing more and I started seeing the separation of me from others. And and that would kind of, that's what kind of drew me to be different, and I'm like, okay, I want to be better. How can I get better? What's the solution to that? And how can I have some more, at least winning championship stuff like that? So that's what it really was down to it in the beginning.
Yeah, and so do you feel like because you have a lot of style to your game, I mean, it's just do you think that's kind of what you saw your dad doing, or is it just something that you just always felt natural doing?
I didn't really get to see my dad play, but so much because I was young. I heard so many different stories on the layup, he used to do all that stuff. But I think when I started playing the game, my thing was I wanted to make everything look easy.
Yeah.
So anything I did, it had to look smooth, but it had to be easy. So I worked on being able to, no matter what happened, I control the pace, I control everything. I'll make it look easy. I'll make it look so smooth. You'll be like, oh my God, what are you doing? So that's where I focused on. I focused on every day, pounding the ball, dribbling, and then being able to control it on the string. And then as I got stronger, it became even more apparent. Like it was like, oh my, everybody like, I don't see how you got on a string like that. But I used to do dumb stuff like I used to go to the grocery store with my aunt, for my aunt, take the basketball with me, and I dribble, holding all the groceries in one hand and dribble. And then my arm get tired, I switch, put all the groceries in another hand. So I had like three bags in one, and I just dribble down, and I pound the ball like wherever I went. And then like the cracks in the street, I had to make sure you wouldn't hit the cracks in the street. I had to dribble over the crack street, so I had to pound the ball to keep it above. So just always like when we talk about repetition, that's basically what it was. And then when I got really good, I had a bag of groceries thrown around the bag of groceries, thrown between my legs around the groceries, one hand. Like it was, and to me, that's I kind of built my like my handle, like going to the grocery store for my aunt, and just having fun with it.
And it was just walking home from the store. Like you're
Hmm.
just building
Yep.
your skills. That's cool. That's a cool story, man. I like that because I mean you hear of like I mean I you see so many now like there's so many camps which you hold a really good camp now, but um a lot of kids the ability to go to a lot of these camps now and you're like man that the streets were my camp. So it's like I mean you were literally I mean between watching what you see of the players out there and you and you got to play with a lot of good players even growing up, right? In your
Yeah,
teenage years.
yeah, I did. I got I got to play against a lot of like McDonald Americans, Jerry McCullough, Felipe Lopez, and Hamilton, and we all went to the NBA. My guy Smush Parker, just younger than me. I got to play against Mark Jackson, Ross Strickland, Anthony Mason, God rest his soul. Conrad McCray played Syracuse. So many guys. Like just my AU program started with like, then I went to Dykeman. Dykeman AU program allowed me to play against some of the best players in the state, and then people used to come in like Ray Allen, just come play pickup with us in the AAU setting, and it was just you got to see what it looked like firsthand. So either you can mimic it or you can fail. So and that to me was that was the lore. Like that might play for I would want to be the best one in the room. So I wanted to guard everybody, no matter what the difference of athleticism or height or whatever it was. I wanted to be on the floor. So that's what I really did, and I had to learn that way.
Yeah, and w- you told me about like your first big moment, and this was like when you were like around 16, of like one of the you. I mean, and if people don't understand who listen to this, I mean, in New York, like the street courts are like, I mean, they're you might as well play at the Garden with some of these street courts, especially like Rutgers, you know. But like your big moment, was it at Rutgers, or was it at another court?
Man, we had so many like defining moments. I think one of the biggest ones would be I can go to a whole bunch of, but the one that really kind of like gave me my confidence in playing in Queens, it's called Baisley Park. Rucker had a ton of stuff at, but Baisley Park was where I kind of like home craft my game, and they gave me so many different nicknames. I was Tim the Wizard, all kind of thing. I actually have the article, like they did like an old school staple like news article of the stats and stuff every week, which is hilarious. Um, and I was out there calling Wizard. That's when I first played against Skip to Malu,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was out there doing all kind of stuff. One of the funny things, I played with Jason Bell, Charles Mann, who was like elite talent, who actually had tried with the Atlanta Hawks when I was playing with him, and we playing in Basic Park, and I guess this guy's drug dealer, whatever it was like fouling, roughhousing, and push Jason Bell, who was a super athlete, played out here in the college. They throw the ball at me out of bounds. I sprint the full length of the court. Park going crazy. I run at him. The dude that did it is at half court. When I get to my half court, I go between my legs. I ball fake it and put on his head and spin it, and then snatched it back, and like him and Chin like smacked his chin and then went by him and threw it alley oop to Jason Bell. He dunked it. Everybody went crazy, not knowing like this is one of the biggest drug dealers in the area. And he ran up on me and we squared up, and everybody like stopped the game. But I was just defending my teammate, like just I got you. That's what you want to do? And then everybody just went crazy, like. And then the guy named Eddie Gregg, who brought me out there, who took me to West Some State, he was like, "Man, you crazy? You can't be doing stuff like that." He said, "But it was dope." Like, and I was young. I was about to go to my senior year, well, my freshman year at college, and it was just like that was just me. I'm gonna get you back, like, and that kind of like let me know, like, yeah, I got something here, like I'm really
Yeah.
that guy. That's like, and then I went out there every week by myself, only dude from Harlem out there playing, and just put on a show, like just that was my thing, like just I'm gonna come out here, we're gonna win the game, we're gonna do it in style.
So I mean, it's crazy because in the NBA, there was not a lot of players that played with that kind of edge, you know? And so do you feel like when you went into, because I kind of know your story going into college, like the appreciation of the way you played. I guess the question is, you feel like they didn't understand your style and the way you played? Because now it's totally accepted, you know, because that kind of form of play is accepted. If you got the skills, we're gonna let you work it in your play. But do you think it was still too new at that time, your style of play?
um I think going to college, it wasn't really too new, but it was who was doing it. right? So like if you wasn't a 5-star elite guy, you supposed to stick to the basics,
Mm,
right? So like like a Chauncey Billups, somebody like that going to college, they get more of a leash. And then when I came in, I was known for this, and I was in magazines already coming into college, and I went to junior college national team. This is how I played. Everything I did was legit, and I was able to do it in game speed. But my coach was stuck on, you're gonna do it my way, and it's gonna be this way and that way. But I did it his way. It might have went between my legs to crossover, or like just like one game I can't I remember I forgot who, but they was playing Sam Hughes somebody, and my team didn't help me. They was getting trapped. And I said, okay, I knew nobody help me trap. I've been breaking presses my whole life. I'm up the baseline in front of my coach, and the dude cut me off. I threw between his legs and kept going. And then we got to we got to the bench. He cussed me out. He was like, "This is not Rucker Park." I said, "Well, tell my teammates to be in the right place so I can throw the ball to them. They're gonna turn it back. I'm gonna just break the press." And that was always like a theme with him. And it was sad because he recruited me for 2 years. And then I get there, and then he has the epiphany, like he didn't want this. Like, you knew who I was when you recruited me, and when I was on the floor, we won games. Like I was on the floor, I kept us in games because I was able to shoot the ball. I knew everything was going in the offense. So many times I changed the offensive play to another play that I knew that worked, and he look at me and be upset. I'm like, but that's what I'm supposed to be, the extension of you.
yeah,
So and I didn't need to be coddled because I came from JUCO. I was an older player coming in with experience, and I think a lot of that, like you said, a lot of that was that, oh man, you gotta do it my way, and which I understand because as a coach, I like, yeah, you gotta do it my way. But after I prove that I can do it your way, you gotta at least give me some leeway to let me be me. And he would never let me do that because he was stuck in his own way. So it was like, okay, which in turn kind of hurt me down the stretch because I didn't get to play. I didn't get to produce the way I wanted to produce.
yeah. Yeah, by the way, you mentioned Chauncey Billups. I actually, side note, I got to play against him. So, but I say I got to play against him, but it was more like I got to watch him play on the court as I like, saw him do his like tomahawk dunk, 360 dunks on our team. So,
Wow.
but yeah, it was but yeah, man, it's I think it's interesting because I do feel like players get a lot more freedom now in if they have the skill set, and that's just crazy how like I seen the way you played, but now I want you to play like I want you to play. That's um, I guess that's the whole give and take of like I'm the coach, you're the player, and that's another reason why I feel like the NBA is so player ran. Because at that point they're like we know what we're doing, just kind of give us a little, you know we just need the motivation to get us through these games. But yeah, so you get through college and you're you stayed healthy through college, right? Or did you have any injuries through college?
Well, I went into college with an injury because I hyperextended my knee, like almost really bad. Coming out of high school,
That's
got
right.
healthy, and then I had like you have basic stuff like shin splints and basically wear and tear of the body, but I didn't really have no major stuff like that. But it was a different challenge in college because just the mental capacity of being able to withstand some of the dumb stuff that I was going through for
Yeah.
no reason because I was like, when people ask me, I was a basketball kid, and all I want to do is hoop. I didn't want to do nothing else. I didn't want to go hang out. I just wanted to hoop. I wanted to have fun. I was like, I sound like Kevin Durant right now. But that was the truth. I
Yeah.
got in so many trouble like these 10 times where I was playing pickup before practice in the gym where we practice that against regular kids on campus, and just beating up on them. Got one, and then go to practice for 2 hours after playing for an hour and a half, and still dominate or do what I was doing practice. And I got in trouble like, you can't be doing that. Your scholarship, got yelled at. And then next day I'll be out there again hooping and just having fun. Um, to me, that was like because that was my relaxation. To be able to be in a game and no matter what was going on, if I was able to play, if I was pissed off or upset at grades, teacher, whatever, I can always go into my calm zone, which is basketball, and just play the game the way I like to play it and let everything release.
Yeah. Yeah, and so shortly after college, you get the opportunity to you go back home and get the opportunity to play with an organization that a lot of people have heard about. It's the N1 organization. How far after college was that for you?
Literally that year I came home, 1999. Right after
Yeah,
that summer I was MVP. I was MVP in a lot of different tournaments. Made the All Star team at Rucker Park. Um, had so much fun, and then they approached me. Well, actually, one of my guys, George Starks, called me. Starks called me and was like, "Yo, I want you to meet somebody." So I go to Science Sex Street Y, and there's a dude named Seth Free in the gym who created the mixtape with the tape with music put to the background like that with Skip, and they wanted to start doing a tour with a couple guys, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I heard about you. I like what you can do," and everybody recognized me like, "Oh, this is Headache all day long," and that's kind of when the induction happened, and that's right before like when we even signed like deals and stuff like that, and we started putting the team together.
yeah, and I mean that that part of your life was like it's where it was like the coming out party for you and the exposure, I guess because you guys toured around all over the country, outside the country, right?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
it was just like I remember it. So like I'm telling you, when I initially met you, I was like, man, what, I was singing Headache, and then I'm like thinking N1. I'm like, oh my goodness, this dude's a part of the N1 because that it was so big back when we were in our 20s. That was like that was N1 was it was getting on the level of NBA to where they were almost feeling threatened by the exposure, right?
They were. They were. We was like we was like the basketball Beatles. Like for real. Like we couldn't go anywhere without being mobbed or whatever. And like even we went when Toronto was just getting started, we went into their arena and we filled their arena up. We played in
Yeah,
their arena like more than they did. And to me that was like incredible for us because we come from because like the culture, the space, the music, everything is something unique and that everybody loves. And for us to bring it together at the time when nobody else was doing it, in that capacity, just made it so much more enjoyable. It was like going to the park with music and had the girls there, like Fresh Prince said, gotta get an outfit to need at least two pair. And then go to the basketball court where the honeys be there. Like just like that's part of the whole aura of the '90s and 2000s. These kids will never understand that part of that you had to get fresh. You had
yeah,
to get fresh. You had to be able to play. Back then, girls make fun of you if you couldn't play. People call it ribbon, we call it snapping. Like just you had to come correct. And to me, that was the whole mystique of just street ball element of you never knew what was going to happen. If you didn't show up correctly, you get embarrassed. If you
yeah,
get embarrassed, you might can't come around for a couple of days or so. Or every time you see your boys, they're gonna get on you. So that to me, that was for me, it was the epitome of understanding what my hard work paid off. Them days of carrying the shopping bags and dribbling and going to the park and losing to people and figuring out how to beat them and like all that stuff paid off in that moment. So it made me who I was.
yeah, yeah, man. I mean, and being that you were, um, I mean, because you were to the point where you were like in the starting group of, it was like Headache. Skip, and then I mean a lot of the younger players that came along. But what's crazy about that time is like, uh, and we've talked about this about how now like music during like plays going down the court, it never used to be that. It was just these strict organ, you know, just it was like it was all
Dad, dad,
traditional.
dad,
Yeah,
dad, dad.
yeah,
And then we came around. We came around. We had Nelly. Yeah, hi, yeah. It was like the, and that to me, that's where we became a threat to NBA because now they watching us change the culture of what they thought was the culture, and it wasn't. And now, like I mean, I crack jokes, but I'll be so serious. A lot of people owe us 15%, like from DJs to arenas to the dance team. Everybody owes us money because we made them change the whole technique of the aura of that after they seen us do what we do, and and that to me that like you can't like so that's our goal. Our goal right now, I think, coming soon is we trying. There's no way that we shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. We
yeah,
changed the face of the game the way the game is, and I think the players like that first 7 to 8 guys should definitely be honored to go in the Hall of Fame for that. Cause we know that like me, Skip, Hot Sauce, uh, have an amazing main event, Changer Machine, AO, um, Probably Professor, like just got like we changed the face of the game. Like
yeah,
Kyrie Irving grew up on us. I call him nephew because his dad. I was underneath his dad. His dad used to always play against me. So I was a young kid playing against his dad. So I watched him play a little bit growing up, and just like he grew up on it. KD grew up on it. Like everybody wanted to be a part of that style and wanted to go play like that. And for us to come full circle and watch the game evolve around what we did, but before that, when we was playing, it was like, this is damn when you're carrying and doing all this, and now they mimicking everything that we do.
yeah. Even like to the point of commercials, right? Because you guys
Yep.
were doing commercials, and then the NBA's like, oh, we better start catching up, and so they were like mimicking commercials. Well, I mean, it was the brands that were doing it, whether it be Nike, Reebok, whatever. They were starting to like, man, we better catch up to what's going on. Who actually is buying our stuff?
Yeah, Nike actually did they with my boy Tricks A Train. They did the freestyle commercial. I
Yep.
actually helped produce that, which was crazy. I helped with them design, like to direct some of that stuff that he did in that, because I couldn't do the commercial because I was an One brand ambassador, so I couldn't do the Nike commercial. But to be a part of it and watch it, and then watch them, because they was going against us. They was trying to make something dope to go against us because they didn't have no no Nike team. And
Yep.
then they came around with the Cotton Club, which was a team that played in New York City, which was pretty dope. Like so we forced their hand to either get out our way or adapt and come challenge us. And Nike has the money and technology to do whatever they want to do. So they tried to mimic what we did, and they actually did it somewhere because they had the team Nike that was going through New York City playing all different tournaments. They kind of mimic us. We just took it. We took it a level above them when we went to different states,
Yeah.
and around the country, around the world. This is before they started. So, like they mimic it in a smaller way because, New York was a bigger market for them to be able to advertise their sneakers because the Nike team wore all their sneakers that was news coming out. So we got a lot of people with a bunch of jobs too. They owe us money too.
Yeah, man. I know that that movement was such an important movement for the game of basketball in general, because I mean, you think of I like it's just the way people, their style of play, everything, just the way the NBA has set their parameters of like introducing the culture into where they're saying they introduced, but it was like it was the N1 that introduced that culture. And it was like I told you, man, it was such a cool thing to watch. I got to actually see a lot of it. I remember the mixtapes, those mixtapes were hot. I mean, as you know, people were like waiting in line to get those mixtapes, right? It's
Yep.
those were the big thing. The shirts, the everything. all that was like that was what everybody was wearing right at back then. The N1 brand
Yep.
shirts, So
The trash shirts, trash tees.
trash tees, man. Yeah. Did were you ever I guess because you have your own brand now, Headache, and was that because that's your own logo, what you have on yours? Was that ever did they ever implement your logo in there? Do you know if they did?
Um, nah, they didn't, but we did have. They did make a T-shirt of me of actually the painting in my house that I have now. They did of me. They made that a T-shirt, and it took a silhouette of it, and and that's how I found out they was doing it because somebody told me. They never told me they was doing it, and they try to say that it wasn't me, but it was a exact silhouette, face, everything of me. I'm like, so it was. We had to
You're like,
come.
that's me right there.
They ain't even try to hide the picture. Like it's a picture of it, and then there's a painting of it, and actually in my house now that they did for me by the heavyweight boys. So when they did it, I was like, because they know they didn't want to pay us. Like they want to pay us for our likeness and stuff like that, which is now it's crazy. The NIL deal,
Yeah.
something that we also created. We also made that a thing, and like it's like okay, you gotta pay me for this. Like we're going to court, and that I think that kind of infuriated them a little bit because they thought we would just lay out. They thought I was going to just lay down and not win. So that's me. I have the original picture and I have the painting of it, and then the T-shirt looked just like both of them. Come on, guys. Like come on, like it's hilarious.
Yeah, and so I kind of want to get into your movement of because you've had your journey from then to now has always been around basketball for you in like gearing towards your profession. You had the opportunity to work in the I guess the digital realm, the gaming realm, um, being an influence in that, and then to the point now where um, you're taking like your knowledge of what the game is should look like and what it does look like as a coach and as a trainer. Um, how was that transition for you? Like, was it like, man, I it's so hard to get I guess because you still play, you like to still go out and play. I've seen you. You still work the youngsters.
Yeah, we got to.
So
I got to stay in shape just in case.
yeah. But I mean, that transition now from like playing to coaching, everybody has a different experience with it, but what's been your experience in transitioning?
Uh, I think I've been coaching since I was young. I always been a guy that helped everybody with their game. So I was training people in high school and college. Like my center, Dwayne Jordan, my coach told me he gonna be your center. You gotta make sure you can catch and do everything. So I was forced to help him with that part. He wanted me going to Seton Hall. So and then in college I used to help the girls stuff like that. So it was always in me, like the coaching part of it and being able to explain the game. And then being a point guard that too. So the transition, I think the biggest thing for me transitioning and then coaching WNBA, the transition for me was more of the stuff they want us to do that to me doesn't make sense, but it does make sense for them because it's an analytical thing. But the game is such a simplistic game where if you do the right things all the time, it pans out itself. So like and like my three C's has always been the same. Consistency builds confidence. Confidence allows you to compete against anybody. And to me, when you have that stuff, it makes it a lot easier in that sense. So but that's to me that was a transition that I had to do when it came to coaching and stuff like that. Like it was like I loved everything about it. I love drawing X and O's up. I love taking my mind and being able to get a drill and be like, okay, I think this will help you get better. Or hey, like right now I just put a new motion office in that I never seen before. I just looked at the court. I said, okay, they should do this, do this, do this, do that. And with the basics of basketball, and it looks really good, and it goes into that. So
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, being able to I mean, so it just sounds like the transition there was not really a transition. It was just what you were natural at doing. This is what you've been doing all your life. And so and I'm gonna tell I know I've seen you work with young people and whether it be boys, girls, and I know that your coaching it comes from a place of like you just love the game and there's it's like I'm not doing this I don't it's a job, but I'm not doing it just as a job. It's just because I love the game, and you want to see the future of basketball, like be able to carry some of that, right?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, it was going in and out a little bit. I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay. No, I was just saying the the future of basketball kind of really depends on guys like you, the ones who knew what the game, the transition, the transformation of the game, the way the game looked back then to what it looks like now to what I mean, young players now they're a little different. It's like having to coach people who are like these social media players where all they want to see is their highlights on social, where it's like, man, the game is played on the court, not on social media, right?
Yes, 100%. And that's some of the biggest problems. Like that social media got these kids thinking that you can add water and stir and it happens. and that's not how it works. Like I, I took I took a young man. We was in Vegas and we watching one of his favorite players play, and I was like, the kid is okay, but he's not as good as you think he is because on social media he got like three clips of the same clips, different angles, and it looked incredible. And then the great part about it, we went to the game, we watched him play. I wanted to see Shaq's son play Sharif, and we sitting there watching it. And then he made like two good, decent plays, but the rest of the game he struggled. And then we went home, we got to get something to eat, and then he saw IG, and he's like, man, this is a fraud. I was like, what happened? He said he struggled. He only had like 4 points, and he was struggling, but this looked incredible. I said, IG is a great tool. Don't fall for it. I
Those those
said.
those
Mhm.
two buckets, those two buckets look good, right?
Yeah, from three different angles. Like he had 35,
Yeah,
so and he was like, and the kid was like, he's like, I look at the game totally different now. I said, yes, because I said when you have a camera, you can do almost anything with a camera. I said, but you still have to perform live and direct when you go to somebody else. So to me, that's some of the downfalls of this generation right now because they see so much um, foolery when it comes to that stuff. So
yeah,
they're getting a misconception of what is the work and what it looks like. So it's our job to kind of push that envelope.
yeah, yeah. I mean, because and what makes you great, and a lot of people it rubs the wrong way, but you're like I don't mess around. There's no nonsense in this game because it's something you love, and when you love something, you're like, man, if you're stepping on the same court as me, you better appreciate as much as me, right?
Facts. And if you don't, it's time for you to go.
So you've created um the headache brand. I mean, you have three things out of that brand. What are your it's um what are the three principles out of headache for you?
One of the biggest things that I preach is Heading 13 is one life, one choice, one time. And what that
Yeah,
stands for, you got one life, you got one life, you got one life to make the right choice at the right time, which is basically in life, we make the wrong choice and you make the wrong choice, it can send you on a spiral of a whole bunch of other things. And you'll probably get back, but it'll take you so long to get back. So I try to preach that a lot about young men, young women, and even some of the parents and stuff like that. You got one life to live. You got one time to make the right choice. And I'd be like, oh, no, you get more than one time. I said, no, you get one time to make the right choice. But what happens is, which is so great about God, is He give you another chance, but it might be somewhere else down the road. So you might have missed
Yeah.
out when that window was hot, and now you gotta wait, 2, 3, 4 more years for that new window to come. And why should you have to wait that when you should just do it the first time around? So to me, that's one of the biggest pet peeves that I put into the Headache 13 brand. And then also too, one of my biggest things is that I got one of the shirts on now. It's called Separate Yourself. And a lot of people be like, oh, you don't want to be separate. Yeah, like, you do. You want because when you go on a job interview, you gotta be different than the person that you go with. I said when you go on a basketball court, you gotta be different than that person that's playing the same position that you play in. You gotta be able to outdo that. I said separate yourself is the biggest thing you have to do because if you don't separate yourself, you can't be a part of something because every piece gotta be different to form one.
Yeah.
So it's and to me that's what the two main things I really put forth into my brand is that when I come into a room, I want you to understand that I'm different. I'm gonna make you different, and that all you gotta do is understand the goals. The goals is to meet for you to make the right choices at the right time.
Yeah, and that's so much like when I started this podcast on to the next, I mean, you were like one of the main. This is episode 20, but I was like, man, I'm gonna have Tim on because like you were like one of the first people who came to my mind when starting this podcast on because of those things that you've implemented for yourself, helping kids move to their next. How do you get there? How do you get to the point of where you want to be? And it's those little things like that. One life, having one chance and separating yourself to make yourself be special amongst those. Because I mean, there's so many people who want to play basketball. How are you going to play basketball? Are you going to play it the right way? Or are you just going to try and just, work your way through it? Like we say, work it on IG and that's about it?
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of them like that right now. I coach a lot of them guys, and it's so frustrating because they think, and it don't help the parents right now. The parents of the generation is just getting them whatever, and I think like when I get kids that actually identify themselves, if I can help one kid, if I help one kid, then I did my job. People
Yeah.
be trying to like, say, take a cent a thousand, but me, if I get that one kid to change his direction and be something different than what he thought he was going to be, I did my job.
Yeah.
How they say one soul at church say one soul at a time.
Yeah.
Like, and to me, that's what it's about. So
Yeah, man. And I mean, so now in your life, you're a coach, you're still working, and I feel like even now we're kind of on similar ground, working through our occupational, um, where we're heading, and where God has us. And, you know, and I've talked about my journey and how it doesn't always look like we want it to look, but one thing I appreciate about you is that you've stayed course, and you're like, man, I'm gonna have to do this as my direction, but it's still gonna be because this is where God has you, right?
yeah, yes, no, definitely. I figure, when God puts you somewhere, you have to learn something, and you have to figure out what He needs you to learn. And I'm still trying to figure out what He need me to learn so I can move on to the next. And to me, that's something that for everybody to understand. Like that when you're in a situation, you're supposed to take something from it. And if
Yeah,
you don't take nothing from it, then you missed the whole scenario. So a lot of time when we sit in these places and we sit in these different time periods in our lives, sometimes the biggest failure that we can do is not pay attention.
yeah,
Uh, and a lot of people get caught doing that. Like, oh man, and like me and my wife, when you talk about all the time, where you have to understand what cycle you in because you might be repeating the same cycle over and over again, the same mistake over and over again, and God wants you to get it right. So you don't move forward until you get that thing wrong, right. And it can be something simple as remembering. It can be something simple as respect. It can be something simple as dignity. Like, but you have to learn it before you can move.
that's real. Yeah, that's that's totally real, man. I've experienced it me, and it's like we find our direction, and we just take God's direction and move forward with it. And sometimes it's not like moving like in a straight line. Sometimes we're taking the back roads where we're like, how did we end up here? But man, and I know like you're in the process of writing your story, and man, I appreciate you sharing some of that story on here because um, if anybody's listening, I feel like it's a story that needs to be told. A lot more details of what you've encountered throughout your life. So, how's that looking for you right now?
Man, it's been a journey of itself because I've never been a person that's been a I always been a good vocal speaker and be able to express myself. But when it comes to writing and academic stuff, it was really hard for me because I never excelled at that until I got older because of the way I was brought up and because I missed so many school classes and stuff like that. So I've always been playing catch up. So it's been a hard write and then also a hard relive of some of the things that I didn't really revisit after I did certain things. So now it's just putting it in the order and understanding where it go. Like, and that's such a difficult task when you have to do that and put it on paper or just put it on the computer in front of you. You're like, oh my God, this is what really happened. And then you're like, okay, what do I keep? And then what do I? So it's been a journey. It's been a journey of understanding. It's been a journey of one trying to find the time to continue doing it. But I'm excited about when I get done. Um, I'm trying to hopefully have a lot of it done by the end of July, so I can have a guy help me write it. This is putting stuff down. He called hopefully he organize it, and from there, But the title of the book was given by one of my good friends, and he said you have to go far for it. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I know what your book should be called. And he gave it to me, and I was like, oh, that's so dope. And I didn't think about it. It's called Life's a Beautiful Headache
Yeah,
because
yeah,
in its despair, in any despair, you can find value. You can find value, and that's to me that's been my life. No matter what happened, I was always able to find value in that circumstance.
yeah, man. Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on and just sharing. Um, can't wait to get. I'm in Colorado right now working, but I can't wait to get back out there. And
I hope it ain't cold out there.
not yet. It's been pretty hot. That comes later. I'm trying to get some work like completed and done before I get to that point.
Yeah,
So
don't get stuck out there.
yeah. So man, I appreciate you, man. I'm gonna tell Mo and the kids I said I appreciate you letting them letting them borrow you for this time, man, because I know you're a busy man also, so I appreciate you coming on.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and I love what you do. So I'm willing. We brothers in Christ. So I'm always here.
Yeah, man. All right, Tim. Well, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Be safe always.
Play, 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 play.